I would like to call to order the City of Saugatuck's Parks and Public Works Committee meeting for July 25th, 2023. Deputy Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Baldwin,
Here.
Chair,
Here.
Dion, it's Johnson,
Yes, here.
Kimball,
Here.
and here.
Member DeYoung is excused. Her wife had a kidney transplant very successfully yesterday. So if anyone wants to check that on
Yay.
Facebook, yes, things went very well. Next up is the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda, please?
I move to approve the agenda. Second.
Motion by Kimball, second Cherick. All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Next up is approval of minutes. It's brought to our attention that the minutes reflect one more vote than is typical, as I am not a voting member, so Deputy Clerk will get that corrected. That, with that being corrected, can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Second.
Motion Roach, second Cherick. All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All right, great. Now we're on to public comments on agenda items only. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. If there's anyone in the room, no, we just have employees in the room. If Mr. Moxie would like to comment online, I think we're okay. So all set there. Now we'll go to review discussion. First up is DPW administrative updates. Mr. Herbert has the floor.
Morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple updates for you. Public Works is pretty heavily weighted in routine maintenance this time of year, as we have a lot of special events that we're assisting with, and just keeping town up and operational for our visitors and business owners. So we've assisted over the past month with the Waterfront Invitational Art Fair, the 4th of July Parade, which I'll talk about another thing about the parade in just a second, the 4th of July extravaganza / fireworks event and music in the park. Branching off of the 4th of July parade, we did rent some Archer 1200s for the parade. Those are vehicle blocking barriers. So as the years have progressed, there's been a need identified where we have to start thinking about things like keeping crowds safe. And so I think the city's doing a pretty good job of taking that seriously. A good step to explore the purchase, because they're very expensive. It's like $80,000 to $100,000 for a trailer with like 8 or 9 of these barriers on them. So they're pretty high cost. So we thought it would be appropriate to spend, a couple $1,000s on renting these Archers for the 4th of July parade, one of the bigger parades of the year, and just see how they go. So people were fascinated by them. I used them myself. I wanted to take myself out of the parade and be on Archer 1200 duty. So I got some hands-on experience with it, which was really beneficial. I think personally, I was able to block off 2 intersections by myself. So, which was Hoffman and Butler and Main and Butler. So kind of cool, really good experience. And I think that that's probably the direction that staff will ultimately be recommending that the council goes into purchasing equipment like that. Also, beyond special events, we've done some routine maintenance with concrete work around town. So every year, 2-3 times a year, the Public Works will go through and comb through some of the sidewalks around town that are either unsafe or just unsightly or deteriorated. And so we'll do some sidewalk tear outs and replacements. And so this particular round, the past couple of weeks, we focused primarily on Allegan Street up on top of the hill between Maple Street and Elizabeth Street. And then we also replaced, I think, 4 broken curbs around town. I think our plow guys, whoever those people are clearly were too rough on the curbs. And so we had to fix that. So we did that. And then also, I think the whole town saw where Consumers Energy came in and had to do some tree removals in front of like the post office area, the Inn of Saugatuck. They had to take these really beautiful mature trees out. One was a Japanese Zelkova, another was a sycamore. And because an adjacent property needed some added power. And so consumers had to take the trees down to fulfill that request. Those trees probably had outgrown their useful space because they had a very narrow green space in between the sidewalk and the street. And the trees kept growing. And so to the point where it pushed the curb of the street out towards the center line. And then also the root systems made the sidewalk in front of it kind of wavy and uneven. It didn't drain well. So like when ice or snow would melt in the wintertime, it'd puddle up, it would freeze. And so it was a good opportunity for us to one, create some more space for the trees that are going to get replanted in that area. And we could do that by making, basically tearing out the sidewalk, doing some regrading. And I think the project turned out really well. And I think we ended up gaining about a foot, 1.8 feet of room for the new tree, which doesn't sound like much, but it's pretty significant. So happy to wrap up the concrete work for this year. And then also had a really productive meeting with the I think it was about a year and a half ago. I touched on this at the council meeting last night, but about a week and a half ago, I got a phone call at home that there had been another traffic accident at the North Street and Blue Star Highway intersection. And I got a call from the sheriff's department. A car had taken off the stop sign. And so we needed to come in after hours and put up a new stop sign. So prior to that accident, that was just a fairly straightforward accident where a car was trying to turn onto North Street that was traveling. A northbound Blue Star car was turning westbound onto North Street. They thought they could make it in front of a southbound traffic vehicle, and they didn't make it. And so it was nothing really related to signage or anything. It was just the busyness of Blue Star Highway. And so prior to that accident, there was an accident involving a fatality. And after that happened, it prompted some of our local municipalities to get together and maybe explore that intersection a little bit more in depth. So that intersection is kind of a combination of Saugatuck Township, which is, the Allegan County Road Commission, and the city of Saugatuck. So I had a meeting. John Moxie, our engineer, was on the meeting as well, along with Daniel DeFranco, the township manager, as well as Craig Atwood. He's the director of the Allegan County Road Commission. John Sharp is their safety director, and then Phil Canoodle is their field superintendent. So we got together and just discussed what incremental steps we could take to try to make the intersection more safe. And so if you travel down North Street right now, it is a bit shocking, but there has been some brush that's been cleared back. But it's long overdue. And a lot of times what happens is, you have these years of overgrowth. There's a desire from homeowners and business owners that they want to maintain their privacy, right? So what they do is, you'll let vegetation or even put some plantings in between their house and the street. And then over time it grows. And then at some point you have to be the bad person and come in and cut it back. And so that's one thing. One of the 4 things that came out of that meeting was brush clearing. Another thing that came out of the meeting was we'd add like a reflective strip to the stop sign at North and Blue Star Highway to make it more visible, and then upgrade some of the signage. So the cross traffic does not stop signage, as well as the stop ahead sign. Those will get upgraded to neons. And so that's the response for it. And, it was just really nice to have a meeting with our other municipalities and get together and see what could be done on it. So I'm really appreciative of the relationships that we have with our surrounding municipalities. And I'm open to any questions if anyone has any.
Anyone have any questions for?
Yeah, the trees down by the post office, I haven't been down there. Were we planting then?
Yes.
Are we gonna get maybe a smaller specimen of tree? I mean, because the plane trees are pretty darn big and they're planted there in a small space, so.
The London Plains, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a pretty big tree.
It is.
Put in a space like that.
it is. That's a tough spot. It really is, because there's overhead power lines, like
Yeah.
maybe 15 feet overhead. That's not much room for a tree to grow. So you kind of have a choice of we steer clear of like smaller ornamentals for street trees for a lot of reasons. But in that particular spot, if you look to the north and also to the south of that location, there's Japanese Zelkovas growing on each side of it. And those are huge trees too. There's a massive one in front of Uncommon Grounds, and
Huge.
they're huge. But when you look at those spots right there, they're kind of, yes, they're large trees with full canopies, but once the branches start growing into the wires, once you do have to make that kind of ugly Y cut, you really can't see it. Especially like when you're walking down the sidewalk or even driving on the street, they seem to hide the wires well. So I'm still certainly open to any suggestion if anyone wants to weigh in on what kind of trees to plant there. But I am leaning more towards like Japanese Zelkovas, which would keep the theme going for that stretch of road.
Anything else for Mr. Herbert? No, thank you.
Good luck with the minutes on that one, Sarah.
That's nice. Okay. Now we're gonna go to our study group updates. Airport property, I can take this one. There's not much to report. We've got ODC that's been out there. I've checked in with Ryan. Oh, I'm sorry. Manager Heiss is not here today. He has cooties. He's got a pink eye. So we were happy to let him stay away. So I checked in with ODC or we haven't gotten any report yet back from them, and that's something that they're working on. They do owe us a full report. I think it was middle of August, so we'll expect something at that point. But that's all I have for airport property. Do you have anything for Blue Star?
Well, I have complaints,
Oh,
for me.
okay.
So the reason I'm complaining is because I have nothing to report. And so what had happened since the last meeting, was I've been kind of harassing C2AE to schedule the project kickoff meeting. And finally, we got an email from a guy called Jared Secor, SECOR. Now, he had not been introduced, but he does work for C2AE. And he was trying to figure out who should be on the project kickoff meeting, which basically everyone is suggesting that it should be whoever's was on the tri-community committee for the trail. So that's a long list of people. And he didn't actually have the membership correct because there have been changes. So I told him the changes I knew about, he got it all figured out. So finally we got on July 17th, I think it was July 18th. He sent out one of these doodle surveys with 3 different meeting dates. Next week in August, the first week in August. So I responded and then nothing. So I've been busy myself, but anyway, I called yesterday and of course I got no response when I called. So before that, we'd had a guy called Eric Kronk who was supposed to be taking over the project. So I called Eric and he basically explained to me that he was really no longer on the project, that instead Jared was taking over. So I sent what I thought was a pretty, if you'll indulge me, pretty
You have the
nice
floor.
email. I said, hi, Jared. The Saugatuck City Parks and Public Works Committee has been designated as the lead entity on the trail for the city of Saugatuck. I am a committee member and have been assigned the lead role for the Blue Star Trail. Tomorrow morning is our monthly PPW meeting and I need to give an update on trail progress. If things have been happening, please advise, as I have nothing tangible to report. It would be helpful if I could say that the project kickoff meeting has been scheduled. So I promptly got auto response that he's out of the office until July 27th. Now, if we're scheduling a meeting for either, August 1st or sometime next week, people have busy lives. You would want to know about the meeting.
Summer.
So I was a little annoyed. So then this morning from his boss, Roger Marks, I received this: Nancy, our full communication plan is set at the kickoff meeting. We did not get responses from each party. August 1st and August 4th are the 2 dates available to all the respondents so far. Now, many of you have worked professionally. When you send out an email to 12 people, do you think you're going to get a response from all of them? Of course not. You have to harass them.
Mhm.
And when you don't hear back, you finally just go forward.
Have your meeting.
And so anyway, what they're doing about it, I don't know. At that meeting, we will review the background work and process for survey and archaeological study and also confirm the project milestones. And then he says, to preview our additions to the team, Jared is assigned to schedule all events and keep the project on the overall track that we choose together. Eric continues with leadership of the project plans and design elements. And when I talked to Eric, he acted like he was off the project. So, and that was yesterday.
It's a lot of work.
I very much look forward to our kickoff meeting. Thank you. Okay, that's my report. So if anybody has any suggestions,
And not in relation to that, but there's some boards that need to be nailed down near the ice cream place on Blue Star.
All right. I would say it might be helpful to bring Ryan Heiss into it and have the city manager reach out.
I copied Brian on this.
Okay, yeah, if you're not getting any traction, but I mean, obviously, obviously motivated to keep the project on track and all that. So if you're having trouble with that, then I would definitely say that Ryan needs to be fully updated and.
Well, right. And even Roger's response to me this morning, Ryan was copied.
Okay,
So Ryan, is fully aware.
okay.
But, yesterday we had our Friends of the Blue Star Trail monthly board meeting. And, you know, they reminded me that the city of Saugatuck has said this is a priority.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like it, you know, so.
I understand. And I mean, the other thing is that summer is absolutely nuts for everybody. And for all the tri-communities and all the residents and anybody on any board. So I mean, I'm not making excuses for that and I've got no
Not-
connection to it.
I'm
But
only
I
really
think it's just
fussing
really-
about C2AE because
Yeah.
they're being paid.
Of course, yeah.
So
So,
Nancy, can you just pick the date and move forward? Like, do you feel comfortable?
I don't think I can do that.
You think it?
I mean, I'm not the project, I'm not in, you know, I mean, I'm the lead for us, but you know, it involves
Yeah.
Saugatuck Township. You know, I can't really tell them.
and I'm not going to tell you how to work, but if it were me, I would be contacting all the other people instead of worrying about going through the guy at C2E. I would contact whoever else is your counterparts and the other municipalities. I'm sure that they're going to be motivated to get going on it too, and maybe just it slipped their minds or they're on vacation or whatever. So there's
Right, so I don't know
nothing
who
either.
didn't respond.
Right.
But yeah, okay, that's good. That's a good suggestion. Thank you.
No one likes to respond to the doodles.
Yeah, I know,
Sending them and.
I know.
I mean, you know, and if you miss it, you know, in your email and then, you know, the email rolls forward. I mean,
Right.
I'm just as guilty as anybody
Yep.
else.
Get back on it.
Okay. that
All
was
set? Okay, Park Street, Ms. Johnson?
Well, from the last presentation, got good reviews, or not reviews, but good suggest ideas and stuff from our Park Street people, so they're happy with it. But squeaky wheel, gonna go talk about the chain ferry again. We should, the sign that we removed in order to put back in, it left 2 holes there and I see people, dogs, kids getting their legs caught in it. We need to fill it at least and replace it. And I honestly think we need some kind of temporary signage to show people where to go.
Are you, I'm
'Cause
sorry, talking about the crosswalk sign? It got
I am
removed?
talking about the John Woolham Trail
Oh.
sign that's been removed and just sits there and is just sitting there. And also, we need some direction signs there. People get off of that place and have no idea where to go. It's not, I don't know if we've got something on the opposite side of Chain Ferry saying, hey, these are the directions, but we should have something on that side. Just to let people know they're confused. They've never been here, you know, they don't know that there's a beach that way, trail that way, Mount Baldhead that way. They don't know this stuff. And if I came here, I'd be just on that Chain Ferry back across, you know, they need guidance. It's a very simple thing. We can just, remember we talked about it, just a very simple sign that just points directions. Other than that, no, we're good. Well, we're never good over there. There's always
Right.
comments going on and we feel as if this side gets the work and that side doesn't.
Are we allowed to put stuff on that big giant wall of wood? I mean,
What giant, oh, the fence?
yeah.
I'm gonna go with no.
I'm going to say no too. I mean, it's just,
All right.
but that's just my update. That's just what I've been hearing. That's just the word on the streets over there.
Thank you.
So a question for you.
We have some of the trail maps from the CVB. Couldn't they put some kind of box there with the?
It's a great
trail
idea.
maps there?
Sure.
Just
Or even a QR code would be nice.
Something, literally, you're off,
Will be
you come off of there and there's no direction. There's so much on that side to go visit, you know?
Only thing about the QR code is once they reach about halfway down Perryman, they probably don't have.
They don't
I
get
just
it.
said to her, I said-
That's a
I
good
said
point. They
QR
don't
code, then I'm
get
like,
it.
wait a minute. you
I
get
think
it
just a
still-
simple kind of fun little sign for the rest of this season and then over the winter, we can kind of come up with something. I know we're busy. I know
What's-
you're extremely
What's the
busy.
name of that trail?
John Woolham,
John Mullum.
Not listed.
WOOLAM.
Did not pop up on Giggle.
well. And another thing is, it's not everyone has phone. I mean, they have phones, but sometimes they just would rather be told what to do. So that's it. That's all I have.
Thank you.
So before we move on, my question is, you put together a really thoughtful presentation last month. I thought there were a lot of really good ideas that were pretty simplistic to move
Yeah.
forward with. So what are next steps when we reach something like that? When she has consensus with those on Park Street. There's some things that I think would be doable within budget and reach. I mean, maybe not this summer, but something to put on
Yeah.
the docket to say at this date, these are things we're gonna move forward with. So what is for this committee? Do we need to vote on that to then kick it to council or?
That would be
what
the
do
next
we do?
steps, but also we should do that in conference with DPW and city management. Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
So we're here now, so would we put that on the agenda to vote on for next month? Or?
I think that we need to, I think we would need to have a meeting with DPW and city to understand the appetite for like what they're willing to do. I mean, if it's like, oh, we need to repave this or put in a sidewalk, we're not gonna be
We
doing
talked
something like that.
about, didn't we talk about this already, though? Didn't we talk about signs and
Wait, yeah.
crosswalks
Yeah, I mean, these are
Couple
things that we're all,
2-3 meetings ago?
This was a formal presentation.
right, you missed it. You missed it.
You
Yeah.
missed it.
Get it from presentation. But no, I mean, we can make all the presentations we want. It doesn't mean.
Yes,
we're
so
gonna get
where,
everything that we
where,
want, right?
exactly,
Yeah.
where does this
Yeah.
go from here? I mean.
Well, so if I may, I think that what has to happen is that we have to decide on what makes sense as far as, I mean, everyone has a wish list, right? I have this too. So we have to decide what makes sense, budget wise, work wise, what we're able to accomplish. And then discuss it with city management and DPW, come
Yeah.
up with something and then agree to vote on it here and you folks can vote on it and then it goes to council for approval on money.
Helen, are you saying that there should be like a separate follow-up meeting, just say with Ruth and DPW and city manager?
I think that
It's
before,
not really-
before I would bring something to council from PPW, I would like to see it discussed with DPW and city staff first.
Okay, but not.
Is that you, Scott?
Meeting, but a separate meeting.
Please.
Yeah. Is he, you're talking about human rights? Okay.
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, Kelly, that's a great point. I appreciate you bringing that up because I can clarify a little bit. But I am also kind of in the same boat where I'm like, okay, we get hit with wish lists all day long. I mean, I came to the council meeting last night and before I even sat down, someone stuck a sticky note on, or handed me a sticky note and was like, hey, so we get bombarded all the time. So, but I think, what I hear of your request today, I love your presentation. You guys put a lot of thought into it. It was well, you did great. Some of that is just what I consider to be routine, basic, like holes in the ground. We don't need a meeting for that. We'll fill them.
Yeah.
The direction,
Get that.
the directional sign, the John Willem sign, I think that I did see that it was somebody uninstalled it. It wasn't Public Works, but someone pulled it out
Oh, you're.
and then just left it there. And so I did see it a couple weeks. Someone did it. We didn't do it.
Darn Park Street people.
Well, and this
I'm
is,
serious.
yeah, so I think for that, like, one, we need to remove that sign and bring it back to Public Works for safekeeping until we can get,
But yeah.
but more decisions like where's the sign gonna go, or like adding directional signage, which is a great idea. I would not consider that to be just solely the Department of Public Works' responsibility to agree on. I usually, as it relates to signage and stuff like that, I generally like to have our engineer involved, more for street signage versus the one that you're talking about. So that's probably something that would need to go back
For
to.
consideration, it's one of the things that came up in the 5-year, we had a kickoff meeting and that's something I'll discuss later on.
Okay.
Item C, but one of the things that we'd like to do as a tri-community is have some consistent signage. So what I don't want to do is spend $3,000 on signs down there before we've agreed on like, oh, we're gonna have.
No, we understand that. So-
Gates and things. And so, yeah, it's not just that you said your words and nobody was listening or paying attention. It's that
Right.
there's other considerations to take into account.
And I get that. I've worked on these meetings.
Right.
In other offices and stuff. So I get the procedure. I just want to make sure that this is not in vain, that what we're doing is going to progress somewhere forward.
I
And
wouldn't
that's
be
what I
here,
can
I
tell
wouldn't be here if
people.
it was, absolutely not.
Yeah, that's it.
Mount Bald had improvements.
Thanks, Scott.
I typically count on Ryan to update us on that. I know that since we've had some stuff at council where there's been a backup on some of the AT&T work. I'm sure you folks are well aware that they found some Native American tools and remain not physical remains, but tools and such. So it's put a wrench in the project. It's probably going to result in the bathrooms probably staying where they are. But they don't have a full update on that yet. So that's where we're at with the Mount Bald Head.
So maybe Ryan would be the right person, but is the goal to still have AT&T redo the existing at the existing site?
That's my understanding is the latest.
And put some of the components in there?
That's my understanding is the latest. Yep. That's my understanding.
So,
But they'd have to have a bigger footprint than what we have.
yeah, because I thought that they were gonna have to go
Mhm.
up in the actual tower, but now.
Oh, no.
No, they're
she's
doing
talking
that.
About for their equipment. Yeah, well, and that's a whole separate issue about I'm not gonna get into that whole thing about the
Oh,
antenna.
don't.
No, we're not gonna do that here. Okay, invasive species. I'm sorry, John is on the line. Is he trying to speak?
Yeah, he looked like he did.
Okay.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I was just gonna fill in for Ryan maybe and give you a
Okay.
little
Oh,
bit of
thank you.
what I know. The current plan from AT&T is to take all of the equipment that was gonna be in the building at the bottom of the dune and put it up at the top of the dune. It's not their first choice because that means their personnel is gonna have to climb the stairs every time they need to do their maintenance. But the current plan is to not touch anything at the bottom of the dune other than just the drilling work to get cables and conduits and everything up to the top. All of the equipment, as I understand, is going to be at the top of the dune. We're still involved because we'll be helping them with the critical dunes permitting. That's not really in their wheelhouse, but it's something that we do on occasion. But the bathroom design, the restroom design, all of that has kind of gone by the wayside at this point.
So if we want to have improved bathrooms, we need to start from scratch. And
And it's our pocketbook.
The last I spoke to Manager Heiss, he said that might be in the same footprint as where they are now and not expanded.
but didn't you just say that they're not going to do,
They're gonna take it up the hill.
right, so AT&T is.
Their
not gonna
equipment,
go
they
do
were gonna
that.
have I'm sorry, Mr. Maxey, you might know more about this than I do, but my understanding is that they were gonna have an equipment spot down there, and now that's up the hill.
It's up
But the
the hill.
restrooms would still be in the same footprint as where they are, is I think the current plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, the new building was going to be kind of a two pod type configuration with a single roof across them. The half of it was going to be for the AT&T equipment, half of it was going to be for our new restroom facilities. And based on the results from their archaeological survey, that building is no longer getting built by AT&T. If the city wants to come in and build a new restroom building in that same footprint or similar footprint of where it is today, that can be a separate project. And on a parallel path, we're still planning to do kind of an overall park planning effort. We started down that road in the spring, and then everybody got busy. But Scott and I have been talking recently. We're going to try and re-energize that this fall. To try and kind of do a visioning for the park.
That sounds good.
So without jumping ahead, that might be something when we think about our 5-year plan or
We
something.
can talk about that then, yep.
Is the pavilion used?
We got the new roof.
I mean, there's enough space there. I mean, you could almost, it's concrete pad, it's got. Not that it can be reutilized, but there might be space exactly there for a AT&T, theoretical AT&T building and washrooms there.
So I believe we asked Ryan this at the last meeting,
Okay.
and he said they would still have to do.
Oh, the
some
digging.
there For that to be moved, and that there was fear that it would be the same outcome in terms of that there's probably.
And then you
historical-
If it's in one spot, it's gonna be in another
Yeah,
spot.
So they, at that time, a month ago, we're not interested in kind of.
That-
investigating that.
Right. Kind of staying, and then this fall we'll work on the design of it, the whole.
New
park.
question.
No,
All right. Thank you, Mr. Maxey. I appreciate you
thank you.
jumping in. Invasive species.
My
any-
favorite line,
Still invading?
still invasive.
Okay.
All right, so we basically, the 4 basic invasive species. Milfoil, Phragmite, Japanese knotweed, Oriental bittersweet. There is I've kind of like, I made a call into Derek at the DPW to talk to him, not the DPW, Kelly, to figure out how long it takes groundwater to replenish. Haven't gotten a hold of him, but as usual, I'm trying to work with I'm trying to get a thought process on runoff, which promotes like Japanese I believe it's milfoil. That's an aquatic plant in the rivers and creeks. Where I believe the amount of like phosphorus and other pesticides and herbicides that are put on the lawns, which Sagatuck is a major, not the DPW, because I know you guys are just cool. But the lawn services that come into town, every lawn's green, every lawn is this, there's not a weed in sight on my block except in my yard. And so 20 to 40% of the pesticides and herbicides that are put in the lawn actually contribute directly to they're groundwater runoff that goes into the creeks and streams, which therefore promote invasive species in the rivers and creeks. So I'm just working, not that I'm working on a plan, I'm just trying to figure out the route that it takes. And if there's anything we can do, and of course, there is things you can do. There's different combinations of chemicals and herbicides and pesticides that are probably more inert on a faster basis. But lawns basically have such a short root system that they do go into the ground, and hence, especially on the hill with such a high clay base, they have a better runoff. Not this summer because it's been really dry, but so I'm just trying to figure out what I can come up with to down the line to make a recommendation to council to possibly give a record, so they can give recommendations to lawn services. And I know in other communities, it's interesting. If you want a tree cut down in your community, you have to have a licensed tree, you know, even on private property. You got to have somebody who's certified and licensed to cut. And I don't know how far it goes to as far as lawn services go, but the chemicals like True Green and maybe other places, I don't know what they use, but then yeah. But I know in relation to birds, and I always try to bring up birds at every meeting. The pesticides and herbicides that are put on lawns just kill everything in sight. Every bug on the planet dies, so that the birds probably eat, you know, dead bugs, cancerous bugs, bugs that have a high level of pesticide in them, and that directly affects them. So I'm just beating my own drum here.
Well, I think it'd be something good with that, like cleaning the runoff and the river's edge and stuff to put in our 5-year plan where we are proactive about this, because I agree with you. I mean, I think this is our responsibility.
What would we do differently if, as far as the runoff that we don't do now, like what can you do to clean the runoff that we aren't doing?
What, I was gonna jump in, because when I was talking with the guy from ODC about Peterson Preserve, you know, it would be if we would plant more native, you know, wildflowers and plantings along there, then that kind of can catch some of that runoff and, you know.
Along
so-
water's edge?
Along water's edge.
And she said,
And even the boulders, things, anything to slow
Right.
that water down to
I would like to
capture.
see us, yeah, as we think about the 5-year plan,
Mhm.
you know, say, let's make this kind of a priority to figure out.
I like that idea.
And
how
to, and,
Community, you know.
and to see if we
community
can
that
talk to,
promotes this kind of thing.
yep, and to talk to individual owners of property, you know, and to educate them and to give them an option.
And I've
You
been
know?
trying to slowly convert some of our lawn into, you know, native plantings. And so I haven't wanted to tell people what to do because I'm still learning and
Yeah,
experimenting
But
myself.
that's what a lot of people are. yeah.
Audubon has a something on their website about grasses,
Yeah.
according to your zone, native grasses and things that grow that have a deeper root system,
Right, and
which
so
have
I,
a better carbon capture.
yeah, so I've got like some little blue stem that's doing great. I planted big blue stem and it seems like it's not hot enough
You know,
and it's kind of not doing squat, you know? But, you know, so, and I know Kelly.
Yeah, there's more to making your yard into a meadow than just letting your. grass
And plus it's also the,
We encourage, I don't think we're gonna probably go to, you know, like banning things, but as much as we can at least start promoting the good stuff.
but we have Kentucky bluegrass up here. Let's bring a seed that is indigenous to Michigan that grows in our environment, not some other state. I mean, it's as simple as that, is to change their seed. You know, because
Yeah,
you can
so-
have grass
But yeah,
without
I
all
think-
the other crap that goes with it.
well, you know, our storm system basically.
Yes, stores.
the storm system empties directly into the creeks and rivers.
Mhm.
So it's just,
Anyway.
you know, it's a thought process with me. I've been, you know, I think about a lot, I write some notes on it, but it's a long-term project and I think this committee is long-term.
I do
Mhm.
too.
you know.
I
think
want to
that's
talk
what
to
we
you
should do.
offline about this too. I've got some thoughts on a grant that I'm aware of, so let's do that Another time.
Keith, I've got something for you too. So I recently read, it's the Eurasian Water and Milfoil Advisory Committee report to Sagatuck City Council. So they re-looked at this. It was December 28th, 2020. The city is working with Douglas on all the milfoil, obviously, because the water boundaries come together. So they work with, I think it's a company called Aquatic Doctor, and we just situated the other day where they were spraying. I think they spray 2 to 3 times per season. Their last spray was actually just last week. They did it midday, directly where kids were boating and at the yacht club. It was really upsetting to me. So this is why I've done some investigative work. It's an herbicide that is apparently not an issue if someone is in the water. It does say, you know, you've seen probably.
Yeah,
They're,
stickers.
yeah, they're legally required to put those notices in the ground. But anyway, I think from an invasive standpoint, like we have to do something because milfoil will choke out the entire ecosystem with plants and animals. So I understand that we need to do something as a group. However, are there things that we can do that are a little bit better and a little bit better for the environment? So I think there's opportunities for our group in particular and yours to potentially work with who you've already contracted with to do a better job of that. So anyway, I'll send you the.
Okay.
um,
It, I know it's like, it's just a name, but can we change the name of the invasive species committee just to the environmental committee? I mean, can we make that kind of, can we vote to do that?
I
think-
think it's probably okay. I don't think there's anything in the charter that.
I
would
think
say
we're the
that,
ones that,
But,
I mean, that way we can
Yeah.
cover some more down and in 5, 10.
and I was gonna say, but environmental committee covers a lot, right? So
Yeah,
maybe we
it's a
need
good
to.
point.
I was gonna say that's a lot. So let's revisit that for sure.
All right.
Okay. Village
That's-
Square and playground?
That's what I
Yes.
have.
So I shared last time where we were in terms of moving forward with the existing space for the playground and starting to get bids from different companies. Sinclair, who's local in Holland, I shared with you guys about them. They've been great. They actually have gotten us some renderings. I was gonna share them today, but because Glenna is out and they came in late last week, so we haven't even really had a chance to, you know, share our ideas on it. We will plan to share that with you guys over the next meeting. So kind of,
Okay.
which will be really exciting.
It is
Um,
exciting.
Lena also found another company that is called Landscape Structures. So they've done a lot, actually out of the Ottawa, West Ottawa school system. So we were gonna go up there and check them out. We had a rep come out this week. We met with them. So we're gonna get renderings from them. Pass this one around. So, you know, we shared that we want to do a themed playground. Cool nature.
Cool.
And Scott was kind enough to meet at that meeting as well. So I'll pass that one around. So expect to have larger plans for us to share for the next meeting. And
Good.
that's where we're at with that one. So that's moving forward, which is exciting. And both groups are saying that if we keep forward with this, the way that we're moving, that if we can make a decision by early fall, that we still would be able to order things and then have a tear down and then group, what we're hoping is gonna be a community build in the spring. So
Nice.
we're ready to go for next season, which is exciting.
It is exciting.
So that's
Have we made a decision on the sections, the 4 corners and what's going where?
We have not done a holistic overview, and the reason why is that obviously with the inspection that came through with the playground, we felt strongly that that needed to be moved on first based on safety concerns.
Okay.
And so once that's moved forward with, then we'll go
Right.
into what do the other 4, other 3 squares look like, because we would love to have a 30,000 foot view. Okay, how do we want to use these spaces going forward? I mean, both sides, both pieces on the other side are somewhat past their useful life and need updates as well. Nothing is urgent, but there's definitely things that could be done. and we have ideas about, but we haven't
Yeah.
touched those yet.
All right, thank you.
She has exciting news on item 7. I will let Member Roche discuss that as well.
Yes, so in the ending meeting comments for the last meeting, we talked about recycling bins. Scott and I met about what is possible, because obviously DPW does a lot for the city and we don't want to overburden them and do something that will not be successful for DPW or the city. And so what Scott had mentioned is that doing a potential trial run of recycling
Thanks, Sarah.
bins for the downtown is commercial space. Where we wanted to start with this. And so there's been an email chain with Helen, Scott, and myself, looking at different companies that we could work with to get recycling bins downtown. We had kind of thought through what we wanted to start with and what's achievable in terms of success, and really we thought starting with plastic and aluminum cans are the best bet. And so what we would like to do, and what I'd like to start a discussion about today, is we'd like to just do a trial run of this, and what that would include is getting a couple of the bins where it is a side by side, so it is a garbage bin with a recycling bin next to it. We talked about the style of bins that we would like to use, and realistically, we want covers on both. We want garbage still closed, because I know you guys have seen all the aggregate ones that we have downtown that have, it's closed. There's a lot of dogs walking, a lot of food being put in there, hot summer days. We want to keep the smell to a minimum. Also, we don't want rain going in there because Scott's crew is coming out, DPW's coming out, and that obviously makes everything a lot heavier and a lot messier for them to handle. And so there's two different companies that I found that we can potentially source from. And the only thing I'm worried about, like, that we need to look at is the gallons, that if it's gonna work the size. And most of them come, like, they're like 35 gallon versus the largers, and so like, that's what we sort of, because we wanna make sure that we don't, what Scott had shared, and if you wanna comment, feel free to jump in, is that right now, his crews are already coming downtown, there's about 35 garbage bins that they're going through on a daily basis. So if something is right next to it, that's not adding anything but a couple minutes to their day, versus if we're making it smaller and adding more space.
More bins.
And it's, you know, from a habit creation standpoint, we want to have a garbage bin and a recycling bin next to each other, so that
Mhm,
people say, okay, I'm gonna make the right choice, I'm gonna put this in there.
mhm.
The other concern is people will shove garbage wherever when things are full.
They
and
do.
So we want to get the bins that have just the smaller circle, so it's
Yeah.
basically creating a habit of like only a smaller thing and have signage with it. Can go in there, and so there's obviously, you know, things that we need to consider if we're going to be successful with this program. The other piece of it that I wanted to share is there is the ability to apply for a grant through Keep America Beautiful, which is the agency around, or the nonprofit around the country that cleans up litter. And Emmett County, which is Harbor's Petoskey, that is where they originally got the grant to start their recycling program in their commercial districts. So it's just on their website, that grant process doesn't open until fall. So that's why I feel like the timing on this is really good, that our group can talk about this and figure out what we're gonna do, and then potentially then Scott and I talked about is getting a few of these downtown, see how it works for DPW before we make a huge investment. And then potentially apply for the grant, knowing what we need to move forward, if we need to change up what the bids are to, you know, meet the needs of his group. And then apply for the grant in the fall.
I think, I love it. I think that's what we do. And I love Holland's got a beautiful system downtown, just beautiful, which they always do. I think we need to put in this trial run something on the other side too, simply because they're gonna have to go over there, and it's gonna take more time to go over there too. So I think in the trial run, if we could place one over there, perhaps at Mount Baldhead, you know,
Yes.
just so that they know that that's part of the loop that's gonna have to be covered, which I think is important.
And just building on the conversation a little bit, you know, like I had a conversation with Kelly where I showed her, you know, I think it was probably around, 5 to 8 years ago, at some point, the city purchased a large quantity of the aggregate style trash receptacles downtown. They made the purchase, they were trying to replace the ones that we had existing, which were significantly larger than the ones that we had ordered. And so you can see an example, like down at Village Square, but on the playground side of it, there's a newer one, which is smaller. And then across the street in front of the restroom, there's a larger one. And that you look at them and there's not much difference except the capacity, but that really was a game changer for the public works staff, because reducing the size of those receptacles, it meant that even during the weekdays, there's times where we have to do trash service twice a day. So it's quite a bit more. And then also too, I think if we could figure out some sort of way to handle like the pizza boxes, that's the big one where it's just it clogs up the whole receptacle, and then it kind of makes a mess from there. So that's another component that I don't know if there's receptacles available for that or not, or maybe just in key locations. You know, I know for the longest time people were getting pizzas from Maro's for a while, then going down to Music in the Park on Wednesdays, and so that created a lot of trash.
You know, that might be an
overflow.
interest. I apologize for interrupting you. It might be an idea to hit Mitten and
Ask-
Maros and say, hey, how about doing how about contributing to this? Or how about having to recycle our pizza boxes? We'll give you 20 cents back. If bringing back to us, it would create a garbage situation from them, but basically they're giving their garbage to us.
Yeah. It's a good idea. COVID was a game changer too, and
I'll talk to pizza places if that's like a major hiccup for this and it's filling everything up.
it causes a problem. At least it did. I don't know if people are still doing that. I'm not hearing that as much anymore with music in the park, but I do know that that was a thing for a while. And it was like we'd go up to the trash can and there'd be a stack of 20 or more pizza boxes next to the trash can on top of the ones that clogged up the receptacle. So
Sorry. Mismeasure.
It's like,
Box in the.
yeah.
I understand.
Baldi's is closer now, so everybody's going to Baldi's.
yeah, it could be. Well, COVID really was, when everyone started moving outdoors and then doing takeout dining, that's when we saw kind of an issue with the trash, and it hasn't really gone away. There are just a handful of locations.
Landfill right there, that whole takeout stuff, but that's another
It
whole
is.
story. It's like, man.
It is, yeah. But yeah, as we roll this out a little bit, I think Kelly and Helen and I can just kind of make sure that we're picking the right receptacle. That's going to help us out logistically. That's all.
And that's awesome.
And what about, like, let's say you get these 9 million cans, where do you put them?
So it would just have to be a direct replacement of what's, if we pilot the program.
Not the cans, the receptacles. Let's say where do you bring your recycling that you take out of here?
So the downtown, this is kind of the point of the program, is that the downtown, the residents have an option to recycle, right? So they can order that service through Republic Services. We're just simply talking about the street trash out there, which,
But
as it sits,
I think what he's asking is you had said you talked to Jack Brown at Republic, that
Mm.
you would have another receptacle at DPW where that's where those. would
A
be taken
recycling
to recycle.
dumpster.
exactly. If we added these receptacles,
Yeah.
yes.
That is the
And what it would look like is this, from when I talked to Jack about it, he's the municipal rep from Republic. He just said so we'd have a regular street trash dumpster. We're full of Kilwins ice cream cones and whatnot. That's all kind of contaminated stuff. And then we'd have the recycling dumpster. The only difference is that we would have to have, logistically, the Public Works would probably have to have 2 different colored bags so that we can empty the receptacles on the street, lob them into the back of the same pickup truck. That avoids having 1 pickup truck for each kind of trash. And then when we get back to the garage, we have to take the bag, we have to rip open the bag and pour it in the dumpster because Republic doesn't want to have bag recycling.
Yeah, that was a problem for the MRF when going through, it shreds in the MRF and clogs it up. So that's why they want the bags.
And then down the road, we do, the third bin will be compost, so we can start making our own soil and.
Okay, so.
Have mercy on our backs.
Talk about that,
That's
okay.
great.
Mac and Island does it, we can do it too.
This one. If we're in agreement that we want to move forward with this,
Mhm.
what would our next steps be? Because we would need, I can put dollars, as far as.
Yeah, and I think that also since we've already communicated with DPW, then we would have to put dollars together and we would have to make a motion to take it to council.
So for next meeting.
Yep.
Is that what we should?
I think that that's a good idea.
And is a trial run like a year kind of thing? What's the time frame?
It's
A summer?
undecided. I mean, we're thinking for a few months and just.
Okay,
see how-
oh, so it's smaller.
And you can also store them during the winter. Okay, so they're in direct purchase, they're not a lease.
Well, are you talking about the bins?
Yeah.
Well, the bins would stay out year round.
Yeah, they're
So the
year-round stuff.
Garbage bins that are out downtown recycling would stay out.
So they're permanent, they're gonna be hardcore, not hardcore, they're gonna be.
There's another component of it too that I wasn't aware of is when I first got into Public Works, the Public Works Department actually physically removed the trash receptacles from along the streets to the Wicks Park parking lot.
Yeah.
And so I've maintained contact with Bruce Simonson. He's a good friend of mine. He was the previous superintendent before me. And so a lot of times I bounce ideas off of him because we've done things like this in the past. And for whatever reason, it didn't work. So I like to have that kind of historical background before implementing something. And what Bruce had told me was that the reason that they removed the receptacles is because snow blowing and the snow plowing activities just destroyed them. And so even these heavy commercial grade aggregate receptacles, I can think of a couple in my plowing days that I've ruined just simply from snow coming off the plow. So it's a pretty violent force, and that's something that we'll have to carefully
Yeah.
look into. So I'm thinking heavy, maybe aggregate, thick composites, heavy duty stuff.
We'll work on it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I agree.
Yep, me too.
That's great, Kelly.
It's something.
Yes.
It's huge.
Okay, we're taking wins, man. Tri-Community Parks and Rec Master Plan update. We did have our kickoff meeting with Viridis. We have a steering committee that selected a vendor, consultant to do this. We are partnering with Tri-Community, so the 3 communities, as well as the Saugatuck Public Schools. We're going to split the cost 4 ways. It's $15,500. We're splitting it 4 ways with them. And one of the things that I was so one thing that I didn't know is when you read the 5-year plan, a lot of it looks like a big wish list, and that's actually by design. You can't apply for a grant for anything that's not in that plan.
Oh,
So you can't, I'm sorry, back up the bus all the way. This is a requirement by the state of Michigan that we have to have this in by February 2024. Every community does. And if you don't have this done, then you will not be eligible for any grants. So it's important to do. We're doing it, and we are partnering, and you guys already know that with the other communities. We definitely want to take a big picture view. I was very adamant in the kickoff meeting that what I don't want to do is just check every box that like, okay, so now we can apply for grants, whatever. Like, I want to talk about big picture. I want to talk about sustainability. I want to talk about conservation. I want to talk about these things. We talk about bald head and in these areas like, so we're heavy in that, and they're very, very aware that we are looking to do that. I'm working, and Daniel DeFranco is on that from the township. And I think we've got some good traction in that. And like I said, it's only been a kickoff meeting. We're just getting started, but it's going to be full steam ahead. And we're going to have some deliverables for them pretty soon. I know I've got a list of stuff that I got to get to right away.
mhm.
But so anyway, that's going well, and but just getting started.
What about us? Do we get to have any input?
Of course. Yes. So what I will do is I will share with you, I'm sorry, that's the other thing. I will share with you the Gantt chart that we have in as far as meeting with, so there's going to be 2 meetings with each individual community so they're going to have whatever it is, 8 meetings, right? And we will have input from all of us and from the whole community as well. Yes.
Nice.
And I'll share that with you. I'll email you what they just sent me last week.
Okay.
Okay. That's what I have on that. Any review on any next steps? I feel like we've probably covered that in our discussion already, but if anyone has anything else, I mean, before our closing comments, obviously. No, and with
Are-
that, I'm sorry.
Are we talking about the statue?
Oh, the statue of the canary in the
Didn't we
coal mine,
talk,
yes.
didn't you send a big
Sorry.
thing about
Not in my
that?
packet.
It's not in the. packet.
No,
No.
is
it's
that
not.
something you want to talk about?
We can discuss it. Sure. I sent it to you guys just for your
Yeah.
feedback on that. So this was brought up, I'm sorry, can we talk about this without it being, we can talk about this without it being tagged.
Sarah.
Okay. So I am sorry to update. I sent everybody,
Yeah.
this was brought to council. There's a piece by the same artist who had worked on the piece that was destroyed in the Rose Garden. And this is a completely different piece. It's abstract. Has everyone seen it? I sent, okay. So it's an abstract. It's very tall. It would not go, the proposal it would not go back into the Rose Garden. It would be somewhere in open space like Oval Beach or near a big sign or something like that. I was curious to know, so council wanted to kind of kick it to our committee to get some feedback, what folks' opinion was of it, what the appetite is right now for, I mean, do we even have the appetite now to spend money on the art? Do we like it? Does it belong in Oval Beach? And so I would be keeping in mind that that this is an artist that we have worked with before.
Which piece did it replace?
So it would,
Something in the Rose Garden that
Was
got
it
damaged.
Center of the Rose
it
Garden?
was the one, I can't remember the name of it now.
Was it by the fence?
It was
Yes,
So it was the bicycles?
I believe it was the bicycle. Yes, yes.
Oh, that's the artist that did that bicycle, it's a
So
bicycle
he
one?
doesn't work with that medium now. Now, my understanding, and I wish Mary Jo were here to present this, and so maybe we should talk about it now anyway, because I mean, I know that, you don't get to wait forever on something that,
Right.
So just everyone's seen the work. I would like to know your candid feedback on the work and if you think it fits, in our community. That's essentially everything that I had. So I'd be curious to know your thoughts.
This is a touchy one because everybody knows Mary Jo Lemansky.
Mhm.
And I, for one, think that if we were going to promote a purchase of artwork for the community, it should be an artist from our community.
Hmm.
and reminiscent of possibly two main food groups that were here, not the Harris Pie Factory. Native American culture or the shipbuilding industry. That's what popped into my head when I thought about it.
Okay.
And I also thought that, you know, there was a Art Around Town program that actually donated a piece every year. Back in the day, I mean, a ton of art. So I'm, you know, and I'm thinking that, you know, should it be donated? You know, if we were going to accept it, but I also, that's just my opinion, but as far as if we were going to purchase one, it should be representative of the area in which we live.
Okay, thank you. That's good. It's good feedback. This is the stuff that I wanted to hear from our committee. Did you want to?
I liked it. I agree that it would be cool to have statues that are indicative of our background. But I think this is a very important subject matter, and I think it's kind of neat. And if we get it at a good price, I mean, there's not that we can't have other statues elsewhere. And I think the place that it should go, that in my opinion is Oval Beach. And what this artist is trying to say, it's just like, you know, all those ecosystems are being hurt by what's happening. And there's so many different ecosystems out there that it would represent them, as well as like it's gonna, you know, you've got the background of that beautiful lake, that it shows that it's not just our community worried about this, but the whole vast country and world. So I think symbolically it'd be beautiful at Opal Beach. I thought it was nice. I liked it. But I do respect the idea about getting more of the Native American statues and or shipbuilding of our history. But I did like this one. And I think that there's a great place at Opal Beach for it.
Thank
I
you.
thought that's just my thought.
Okay.
My thoughts were not very deep. I looked at it and said, oh, I think that's a
Pretty color.
piece of art. And I thought about more like where would it be placed? And I came to the same conclusion. I thought, does our beach have any art?
No, other than that beautiful sign that the school kids made.
Yeah, considering that, you know, we are, you know, an artist community,
Yeah.
I thought oh, it's a great idea to put art at the beach and, you know, it's a
Yeah.
big piece of art and obviously it's a big beach. So
Yeah.
it was fine.
Okay.
And I think
I thought it'd be a nice addition.
Yeah, so I am definitely for public art. I think that's wonderful. I think to have more of that in an artist town is wonderful. I like the messaging behind it. I did find it to be a little bit jarring in terms of its scale and also the color. So I don't know if I feel like it would be a fit for Oval, because that's obviously such a natural landscape, and then to have something so vivid, I'm not sure that it's the right fit for that. And then I thought just scale wise, I was trying to think other places in town. I didn't necessarily personally feel that it was a great fit for Sagatuck, but if there was something else, if we've worked with the artists in the past, I'm all for finding something that would be potentially a better fit.
Okay. Thank
Yeah,
you.
and I'm not sure that if we want to get in the art buying business.
So this was brought up at council, and that was one of the things that Mayor Dean started in on is, you know, especially with all the dust up about the fireworks and that, and how much do we as a community want to spend on artwork versus, you know, possibly having something donated or having fundraisers or something like that. So that's the reason why it kind of came back to this committee. I understand that part of it too. And I really do. I mean, do we spend taxpayer money on public art? I don't have that answer. And it's an interesting question.
Is there any, do we have any idea how much money we're talking about?
So I think
It
it
was
was
$4,500
It's $4,500. And I
$4,500.
think that
and then
somebody-
installation probably.
plus, no,
you gotta-
installation was included.
Oh, was it
but he
installation?
wanted mileage, I believe he's out.
Got it. Okay.
And the artist is from Bowling Green,
Yeah.
so it's just, and to me, it's like canary in a coal mine. I'm like, and the first thing I thought was, you know, miners and coal mines, and I don't think there's a coal mine within a
Oh, I
300
did. The
miles.
first thing I thought of was exactly
Yeah.
the meaning, and
So
the only thing I thought of was it's a little depressing.
It's depressing, but it's,
It's
we need.
Yeah,
wake
and I
up
think to
call.
put it in any area smaller than Oval Beach would mitigate what it's trying to say. I don't think we have a space other than Oval Beach because of the size and
That
and
was,
the
that was
thought.
my initial reaction to my initial reaction. First of all, I don't have a good eye for art. So I looked at it and I thought, I don't know that this is the thing that I would pick or whatever. It's
Mhm.
bright, it's huge. But I also respect the fact that the beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? I can get
Right.
my head around that. But Oval Beach is where I thought like the
Yeah.
only place that this even fits would be Oval Beach.
Only
I do
place.
like the message, the canary in the coal mine. We have to be, vigilant and I understand that. To me, it comes down to like, again, art is, some people are gonna like the thing, some people are not gonna like the
Right.
thing. I'm comfortable with that part. I don't know that I'm necessarily comfortable spending public funds on it. And I think that if we were to, so that's just kind of where I was headed with it. I
So
think.
I
it's-
guess I'm not understanding, did we commission him to do this?
No,
Did
no, no,
we,
no.
is he
He's
just
offering it,
offering
yeah.
this because it was just not?
Correct, yes. So, okay, I think I've got a good feel
Yeah.
for
You
where
know,
our heads
and-
are at and I can,
Yeah.
okay.
He'll be fine.
All right, thank you. So we're making our way down to public comments. We don't have anyone in the public, so I think we can probably close that out and just go to member closing comments. Start with Ruth, if you'd like to start.
Sure, I appreciate the directions we're going to, where we're looking beyond just our groups, but thinking about other things and ways that we can make our city and our tri-community better. So I appreciate all the work you guys are doing.
Thank you.
Ditto.
Thank you. Follow me.
So I'm excited about that, all of her, some of these things are coming to fruition, now, that we're
Yeah.
going to start to see some decisions being made.
Yeah.
With Park Street, it sounds like with playground, with the.
Species,
recycling.
invasive species that can go to huge.
So, anyway, I think.
Environmental committee.
Momentum is good. I
I
like
like
that message, yes.
And no, I'm appreciative of things that are, making progress. And I hope to have something to report.
So I would echo those comments. I'm happy with the momentum. And I know I sound like a broken record. I do it all the time, but I know that nothing ever moves as fast as you think it should. We don't work in the corporate world. We work on government time. There's a lot of moving parts and interested parties and, funding. There's just so many different ways that things can go, but I think that we have to keep moving forward. We can't stop every time we see a rock. So that's where I'm at with that. And I appreciate everyone's
Yep.
efforts here. Thank you.
I'm sorry, one more thing. Do not answer Helen's emails when she says she's in need of help.
Oh, my goodness. Yes, someone is someone is using my government account. I don't know if it does. Yes, just so you know, I do not need an Apple gift card from any of you.
Someone grabbed your email.
Someone is
Oh,
scraped
like
it. It is
this
off the
second
city
time?
website because
Yeah,
it's gone to these guys. So
I-
it's off the
I'll
city
have to look at
website.
my email.
It says request.
Yeah.
Yes, so yeah, no, if I have a request for you, I will call you or I will text you, but I will not email you and I do not need any gift cards, but although if you're interested, if you would like to.
I would like a
buy me
gift card.
I'm
That's
certainly
okay.
happily accept them. Okay, with that, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
I'll second.
Motion, Chair, second, Road, all in favor?
Hey.
No, that's good.